There are companies that are preparing employees and communities for the so-called fourth industrial revolution. We've been here before. The auto sector is seen as a good example of what is most likely to happen in the mining sector.
Things that are repetitive, that are hazardous, that are boring will go away and will get replaced with jobs that are more interesting, that are safer, and that keep people out of harm's way.
Mechanization works. Goldfields is proof of that. It employs 10,000 people, 8,000 contractors, and produces around 2.2 million ounces of gold per annum.
It improves your safety because you're using equipment instead of people. And you bring in the man away from the face, you bring in the man away from the danger area first and foremost. So it improves your safety. Secondly, it improves your productivity, and it also improves your efficiencies and can actually lower the cut-off grades of ore bodies that would otherwise not be mined.
The reality is that there is likely to be a short-term drop in the number of people employed.
You just won't see the levels of employment that we've seen previously, no matter what you do. They're not going to happen. You can't stop really the technology from moving forward, and you shouldn't. It's increasing the efficiency. The question is, how do you adapt to it? How do you protect the vulnerable populations, that's the low-skilled workers, from the kinds of impacts that are going to come from that?
If this is inevitable, then it's going to require a fundamental change in thinking.
It may be that those people don't get employed in mines. It may be that they have to go to some other sector. That calls for an active government that's good at cushioning those impacts. But it also calls for perhaps a new deal between the governments and the investors, such that the investors support that kind of retraining, relocation, the cushioning impacts.
It's argued that there may even need to be a business model change from governments.
It may even call for new models of ownership of the resource. It may be that the governments decide that they want to go back to the days of resource nationalism and own the resource and have agreements like production sharing contracts that are used in the oil and gas sector.
And what about the role of trade unions in this equation?
Unions are interested in enhancing the work quality of their members and the safety of their members. Technology can take people out of harm's way. We can de-man mines, which doesn't mean there are less people working. They just don't work in the most dangerous spot in the mine.
There's a lot of options, but both the firms and the governments involved have to be thinking about what those new options are, because the new technology changes everything.
If governments and investors don't get their act together and work with communities in those mining environments, scenes like this are going to continue happening. I'm Angelo Coppola for CGTN in Cape Town, South Africa.